Hi, welcome to my first video ever. I had decided a while ago that I wanted to make math tutorial videos because what makes mine different from anyone else's out there? I have cute animals. Here's a tiger. Anyway, as I said, this is my first video ever, so please bear with me while I learn what not to do. Alright, on with the show. Here we go. So, in math, in algebra, in calculus, factoring polynomials is a thing that never ever goes away. So here's a question that I get asked often by my calculus students. Can I use the quadratic formula instead of factoring? Well, you can in certain circumstances, but that's not something that anyone ever teaches anyone how to do. So I decided that for my first video, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about how to use the quadratic formula to factor a second-degree trinomial. If you have no idea what any of those words meant, and don't care at all about math, thanks for watching anyway. I appreciate my beta viewers. So here we go. If I'm going to talk about using the quadratic formula, I thought I'd recap what it is first. Quadratic formula states the solution to the equations ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 are given by the formula that x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. A formula that is the bane of beginning algebra students everywhere. Before I go on, I do want to say that if you're not comfortable using the quadratic formula at all, this video is not going to be helpful. I do want to add a little disclaimer here that most of the time it really is easier to factor polynomials using the guess and check method. But that requires thinking. And if that is something that you are opposed to, you can cheat and use the quadratic formula. So here we go. Quadratic formula is just going to hang out in the corner there so that we remember what it is. Here's my factoring problem. I want to factor x squared plus 3x minus 10. This is actually a fairly easy factoring problem, but I'm not going to do it that way. We want to use the quadratic formula. Unfortunately, we can't. This is not an equation to solve because there is no equal sign. So we're going to make up our own question. We want to solve for x. X squared plus 3x minus 10 equals 0. All I really did here was I made it equal to 0. But this is a new question, not the one we were asked. But we can use the quadratic formula to solve our new question, our problem we made up. Then we'll use the answer to the problem we made up to get the answer to the factoring problem. So here we go. We're going to solve for x. To use the quadratic formula, the first thing we have to do is identify what all the letters are. A is the number in front of the x squared, which in this case is 1. B is the number in front of the x, which is 3. And c is the number all by itself, which is negative 10. So there's the quadratic formula again, and all we're going to do is go through and replace all of the letters with the numbers. B is 3, so I shall replace all of the b's with the number 3. A is 1, so we'll replace all the a's with the number 1. And c is negative 10, so we'll stick that in. Why did I do it in that order instead of alphabetical? Well, because the b comes first in the formula. Anyway, this is really messy and complicated looking. But the worst part is the stuff underneath the square root sign, the radical. So we're going to separate that out and clean that part up. 3 squared is 9, so we can do that first. This is already looking a little bit better. Then I've got 4 times 1, which is 4, times negative 10, which is negative 40. So this becomes 9 minus negative 40. The double negative is always tricky, but remember that just becomes a plus. So this is 9 plus 40, which is also known as 49. Square root of 49, of course, is 7. So I can replace that whole ugly, messy thing 7. And that's much friendlier looking. This page got full, so I went on to a new slide. So this is what we know so far. That plus or minus confuses people at the beginning, but really all that means is that this splits into two different problems. We have negative 3 plus 7 over 2, and we have x equals negative 3 minus 7 over 2. We deal with those separately. I'm going to start with the one on the left because no apparent reason. Negative 3 plus 7 is 7 minus 3, which is 4. So we get 4 over 2. Well, 4 divided by 2 is, of course, just 2. But that's much prettier looking. For the other one, negative 3 minus 7 is negative 10. So we get negative 10 divided by 2, which is negative 5. So that's much, much nicer looking. So we have solved the problem we invented, but not the problem that we were asked to solve, which was to factor that thing. Now we have to be clever. We're going to use our answers that we got before, and what is known as the zero product principle, which basically just says if you have two things multiplied together that equal 0, one or both of them have to be 0. So there are my answers from before. I want to do some strange algebra that you would not normally do, but I want them both to be equal 0. So I'm going to take my equation on the left and subtract 2 from both sides, because 2 minus 2 is 0, and that gets me what I want. On the other side, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Now they're both equal to 0, which is what I wanted. So now here's the trick. We're going to take the left sides of each equation and multiply them together, and the right-hand sides and multiply them together. Basically, that just means we wrote them down. So we're going to multiply out the left side, and we're going to multiply out the right side. Don't panic when multiplying out the right side. For the left side, I'm going to use the FOIL technique from algebra, first, outer, inner, last, which gets me that. For the right-hand side, well, 0 times 0 is 0, so there you go. I can combine like terms on the left side. So that gets me x squared plus 3x minus 10, which is my original problem. So now here's the trick. I've got two different equations written down here. Since they both equal 0, that means that they equal each other. Now I have accomplished what I set out to do, which was factor that. And there's my answer. So was that easier? Well, I don't know. But anyway, that's how you do it. Thanks for watching my video. I appreciate you sitting through it. As I said, it was my first video ever. I'm sure I can do better later. But here's a meerkat.